to you today from the Southern Legend Outdoors Studio, the Be a Legend podcast, brought to you from SouthernLegendOutdoors.com. And now your hosts, Kevin Barefield, Kerry Nelson, Ken Butler, and Mark Newell. Heroes get remembered, but legends never die. It's your time now. Be a legend.
Welcome to another episode of the Southern Legend Outdoors Be a Legend podcast. Coming back at you tonight from Pontotoc, Mississippi. Guys, how's it going?
Doing good.
Right.
Well, good.
We have Ken and Kerry here with us tonight, co-hosting. Ken's back with us. He missed our last podcast. We were in Kentucky.
That's right.
Kerry and I were deer hunting, and Ken actually recently took a trip. He was up in Montana hunting, and but he didn't get to make that one with us in that podcast, so we're glad to have him back with us. He's actually been sick. He's had the shingles.
Yes.
You could probably do a whole podcast just on that.
Well, I was thinking about rubbing up against all y'all before I left, and
No,
you know, that's the worst thing I've ever had. I mean, nowhere close to pain, but you know, hopefully I'm on the downhill side of it now and healing up. But it's been rough. The nerve pain, I didn't realize it. You know, you have people you had the shingles, you feel for them, you think you understand till you have it. And I think Kerry said he's had it and the pain associated with it. So, but I've been down for going on the third week. So hopefully we can get our hunting back going this next week and get back at it. I got some hunters I got to take.
You're right.
To
make up for last year, we never did get together. So
That's true.
Well, we have a couple of guests with us tonight too. My dad is here, Pastor Ronnie Barefield.
Yes, greetings. Greetings.
He made an episode with us last year. He's got a
sold
story.
out, I think. Then.
Yeah, it sold out. He's got a story to tell us a little later about a recent deer hunt. And then we also have Brother Mark Thrift, good friend of mine and all the men at this table. Brother Mark, we're glad to have you. He's
Glad
from
to be here.
Houston, Texas, and he is
A privilege.
Former pastor of Parkwood Baptist Church there in Houston, where my cousin
Right.
Wesley is now the pastor.
Yes, sir.
And he is full-time in evangelism and does a lot of missionary work still and traveling. And so looking forward to, we'll be traveling together here in a few weeks going to Israel. So
Looking forward to it.
I'm looking
And
forward to
Brother
that. And Brother Kerry as well will be.
going too?
Yes, sir.
So we got four guys here at the table.
I'm renewing my vows in Cana. And Michelle said it's going to take more wine this time than last time. Thought I'd throw that out there. We'll have a lot of water turned into wine for her to redo this again.
Oh, man.
We are glad to have these guys. Brother Mark has been a key influence in my life. I don't know what year.
1989 was the first year he came to Unity.
So I would have been about 14 years old. And I was playing baseball. Brother Mark actually played college baseball for Liberty University. And he threw the first no-hitter. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And I gotta do this story. I wanted to bring it up earlier, but I love to hear him tell the story. And I wanted Ken to hear it. Kerry, you might have already heard him tell this. But, he had, everyone that I know as a baseball fan has to hear this story from Brother Mark. He had a little experience. He's very aggressive, Ken. Okay. And so when I played, let me share this to set this up. I played high school baseball at Faulkner, and Daddy would always have Brother Mark come in and preach our spring revival. Well, I'm 14. I actually started playing high school baseball when I was in the 7th grade.
Mm-hmm.
So he was coming every spring, and we would obviously have games. Well, Brother Mark, having a passion for baseball that he does, and we could do 5 podcasts on his baseball history.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
And not even his playing history, but post his playing history, his love and passion for baseball. He's been to every baseball stadium in America, watched a game in every stadium. He completed his bucket list. But as a young baseball player, Brother Mark would come and he would watch our practice. Well, eventually, at some point, somehow, I don't know exactly how this happened, but he ended up on the field pitching in our practice. So Coach Crawford, our baseball coach back then, would anxiously approach and wait each year, consequential to that year, as to, hey, is your dad going to bring Brother Mark back from revival this year? We got a real good practice in that week.
Yeah.
Those guys got to see some good stuff from the mound. So he would come and pitch at our baseball practice, and we could tell story after story with that. So I have a lot of young memories as a young man with Brother Mark and him having that influence in my life as a baseball player.
There was a hurt boy that was helping in practice.
LH Church.
LH.
Yeah.
Was you going to tell that?
Well, I don't. There's
Well,
so many to
just
tell.
one day we was down there, and Mark was just out there throwing, and he was doing ready before they even started doing batting practice and all that. Mark and LH, he's standing over and he's holding the gun, and Mark threw that pitch and it popped. I mean, guys was out there just throwing the ball around tall, and when he threw that pitch to LH and it hit that glove, and all them boys. They turned and looked. They had never heard a ball pop like that in the catcher's mitt. The way he and
Wow.
I would
two
say-
more pitches.
I would
and LH
safely
said, "Enough of
say-
that. I don't want more of that."
I mean, he was in his 30s. Would you have been in your 30s at that time?
It was 34.
Yeah.
So he could still easily hit his 80s.
Yeah.
And we were seeing it. But you got to share with us a story of the experience with the umpire, and you got to tell this.
Yeah, it never gets old.
And it never gets old. And you got to set up your age and all that as well.
Well, I was always very competitive, and I did have, when I walked out on the baseball field, I had one goal and one desire, one focus, and that was to win. And I did not, I'm not trying to sound overbearing about it, but I mean, I didn't care what I had to do to win. I was going to win. So I was 12 years old. And I was playing on
12.
a team.
Keep in mind, 12 years old.
And keep in mind, we never lost in Little League. We never lost. We went undefeated for 4 years. And this one game, one of the managers named Mr. Whitsitt was umpiring the game, and he wasn't giving me anything on the outside part of the plate. And so I was getting angry with him. I'd given him a few stares, and he didn't respond. So that fire that burned within me, all I could think is I need to do something more than just give him a few stares. So I called our catcher out to the mound, and our Albert Gonzalez, who ultimately ended up at the Air Force Academy and Rice University and Harvard University. He became George Bush's Attorney General of the United States. I grew up with him. We played ball together from the time I was 9 till we went into high school, and I quit playing baseball at that point. But I called him out there, and I just told him, I said, Al, I said, now I'm going to hit him. I'm going to hit him with this ball. I'm going to hit him right in the face with it. I said, he's got the mask. It won't hurt him. I said, I'm going to hit him. I said, when I throw it, you pull your glove down. You just pull your glove down. And I said, I'll send a message to him. And Al just kind of looked at me, and I said, just do what I tell you to do. I said,
12 years old now.
I said,
12 years
he's
old.
got it coming to him. And
Much malice kind of 12
so the next pitch, I threw, aimed it right at his chin, and Al pulled his glove down. It hit him in the mask, and it knocked the mask all the way around the side of his head. And he was over there shaking his head like that, and I just acted like I didn't even know what happened. I just looked at Al and said, "Throw me the ball back, Al." And as I walked back to the mound, I never will forget thinking, I was speaking under my breath, but as though I was speaking to him, I was thinking, well, maybe you'll call him right now. So, 12 years old, but I wanted to win. I was competitive. I played angry. I played my best baseball angry. I'm not now. If any of you kids are listening to this, I wouldn't suggest you do that, but it fit me just fine. So.
Jackals, do y'all get on hand? Wow.
Oh man.
Good story.
And he could tell us some million stories. I couldn't ever wait because I love to just listen to him share his stories about baseball. And we could sit here for hours and listen to those experiences. Those of us, everyone at this table, we're all big baseball and sports fans. So
Some of the big name guys he got to know.
Bobby
for the
Richardson.
Yankees.
Bobby Richardson played for the Yankees. When I first met Bobby Richardson, he was coaching the South Carolina Gamecocks, and our manager was Al Worthington. When Bobby was playing for the Yankees, Al was playing for the Twins. Into Al's career, about halfway through his career, he became a Christian, and so ultimately he retired from baseball and came to Lynchburg Baptist College, which became Liberty University. And of course, I had just become a Christian when I was 16. My last 2 years of high school, I'd heard he was coming, and I wanted to play for a Christian university, and I wanted to play for him. So I went to that university and played for him. Well, our first games of the year were against the University of South Carolina, and South Carolina was ranked number 1 in the nation. That was back in 1974.
Wow.
In the spring of '74, South Carolina was ranked number 1, and we had no business playing them. But my first recollection of Bobby, which I had watched Bobby Richardson in the '60s when he played for the Yankees, I'd watched him. To this day, Bobby Richardson owns a World Series record for playing in the most World Series games.
wow.
By any player in the history of baseball. But Bobby came out of the dugout. He come out of the clubhouse, South Carolina clubhouse, came out of the dugout, saw Al pitching batting practice. Well, on that day, I was watching Al pitch batting practice, but my job was to collect those baseballs as they came in, put them in the bucket for him to throw from. And when Bobby stepped out, he grabbed the bat and moved our batter out of the way and said, "Put it down the middle, Al." And he took that bat and began to swing it, and he called his shots right field, center field, left field. And I watched his hands, the way he positioned his hands, the way he positioned the head of the bat, and it was just overwhelming for me to think that I was standing on the same field with a man that I'd watched play with Mickey Mantle,
Wow.
Yogi Berra, Tom Trash, Tony Kubek, Clete Boyer, Moose Scourin, Whitey Ford, Mel Stoudemire, all these great Yankee players of the early '60s. I'd watched him play with these guys, and here I am watching him and living a dream, just
Wow.
living a dream.
Wow.
I loved the game. I loved being around and listening to those guys talk baseball. I remember hours of riding on that bus and Al talking about pitching. He said, "Now, Mark, you can throw, but you can't pitch." He said, "You can't pitch to save your life." He said, "But I'm going to teach you how." And he started talking about location, changing speeds. He started talking about count and what to throw and what count. He started talking about going through the lineup the second time and the third time as opposed to the first time, and how you change your approach. And I'd be on overload, and I would think there's no way I'm ever going to get all this. And I didn't. But anyway,
Wow.
he was a great man. Al Worthington was a great man. He was a real Christian. He loved the Lord. We'd go to town to play, and the first thing we'd do is we'd pass out tracts. We'd stop in a section of town and pass out gospel tracts, and he would talk to us about the Lord all the time, and he was just a real sweet Christian man. And I guess he taught me that you can love the game without the game controlling you. You can love the game without the game controlling. for so long, the game controlled me. And about that time was when I stopped playing. Right about that time. I played 1 year for Al, and then I moved on to another school.
Wow.
Where you found your wife?
Where I found my wife.
Yeah.
Where I found my wife.
That worked out.
Yeah, it worked out well for me.
Amen.
Worked out very well for me.
That's great. Well, we talk about this on the podcast, but this is an example of being a legend. And God brings people in and out of our lives, and I sit here and I think I can't imagine my life without this man, Brother Martin. He shares of people that have influenced him, but in a totally different way, you've influenced my life.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
And I can't imagine what life would be like without this man. And I know my dad feels that way.
Yeah.
I've seen them over the years as
I feel
probably
the same way.
best friends. And
Well, they are best friends.
And
Yeah.
There ain't no doubt about it. All the friends that they have, none of us compete with that.
yeah,
They're best friends. They've been best friends for years. And they're so opposite, you know. The Brother
Yeah.
Mark's intelligent. And no, I'm kidding. We were talking about Brother Ronnie in the shooting house today, and one thing we admire about him is Brother Ronnie has never lost his sense of humor. He's always been who he is every time.
yeah.
You know, and we were talking about that
Yeah,
one.
we sure
We
were.
were talking about it. So, but nobody, and it doesn't bother nobody. I mean, we're all friends, but they're best friends.
Yeah.
And it's just, and you want to be a part of their friendship, you know.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, the providence of God just hooked me and him up. I went out there and preached in 1982 in a little camp meeting. Then in 1985, he brought his daddy. Him and his daddy came up one night to hear another preacher who wasn't there, Dr. Ed Maccabee. And I happened to preach in Ed's place that night. And then somebody introduced me to Mark and his dad. That was in July of 1985. And we just shook hands. That was it. And then in that fall, his dad, Mark's dad, died with cancer. 1988, Mark called me to come preach a revival meeting. And I hadn't even seen him in 3 years. Didn't really know, you know. But the Lord just in his providence put it together. And then I started bringing Mark out here after I preached for him. And
Taking us out there.
and taking y'all out there.
Yeah.
And, well, like I said, we could spend 4 or 5 podcasts just talking about stuff
So-
with the ice and 1990.
Well, I got saved April 8th, 1989. I got reassured of my salvation several times riding with Brother Mark through Houston. So, and the Lord, I need to know for sure. I'm examining myself, as Paul said, because we're finna die, you know, right here. And so are these people that he's passing. And, I went to my first Japanese restaurant, Benihana's.
Yeah.
Every time I think, and we've ate it.
Downtown Houston.
Listen, I make sushi now and cook the Japanese. He took us, and what was amazing to me about Brother Mark's, I was pastoring a church, and I mean, I couldn't spend any money on anything. I mean, they didn't spend it on me, and I couldn't spend it on nobody. And I won't never forget him taking all of us. When we got there, he took us to Papacita's, and their church paid for it.
Yeah.
And then he took us to Benihana's, and their church. He taught me as a pastor how to entertain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, and I've said that to our people. You know, you bring people to Tupelo, you bring people to our church, then you want them to experience Tupelo, North Mississippi, because he wanted us. That's where he's from. He's proud of it, and he wanted us to know the highlights of. He took us to the first time I was over there. He took us to the Astrodome. And this little college kid is giving tours, making some college money to get through. So and it's a group. It ain't just us. It's a group, about 25 people. Before the tour was over, The little college guy was in the group with us. Brother Mark was leading the tour. We were passing stuff. He'd say, "Hey, young man, come back here. Let's tell them about. You do know about the home run ball that hit the seat to the left of that seat in 1962. It went 422 feet. And next thing you know, Brother Mark's telling everybody now right here, and the little college kid standing with us. He's going through. He learned more in that tour than the company gave him. You know.
Wow.
So
He knows more about the game of baseball and the history of baseball
Than anybody I know.
any man I have ever met in my life, or even watched on TV. You think these ESPN commentators that they know, they couldn't hang
I
with
know.
him for 10 minutes on the history of baseball.
me and Brother Dana
I could
Williams
give
talked
him
about
a
it the
year.
other day.
Let's try it out. 1982 St. Louis Cardinals.
Is he a Cardinals fan? Is he a Cardinals
No,
fan?
No,
he's an Astros fan.
Astros.
He's an Astros
Okay, I was
fan.
getting
Let's
ready to
set this
say it.
up.
Okay.
1982 St. Louis
Because you know these are
Cardinals.
Cardinal guys right here. You know.
That's why I asked the
Cardinals.
question, because I know the answer.
Okay.
But I've never done this. Let's see.
They
what
won the World Series. They beat the Milwaukee Brewers. They won the World Series. They beat the Milwaukee Brewers in 7 games.
So I'm a Cardinals fan, but I didn't know that it happened in 7 games. Do you remember any of the lineup?
Yeah, they had Willie McGee in center. They had Jack Clark at first. They had Tommy Herr at second base. They had Ted Simmons, who was catching. And they had Vince. I can't remember Vince's last name, but he played left field, and he led the league in stolen bases.
Vince
that year.
Coleman.
Vince Coleman. As a matter of fact, he broke Lou Brock's season record of 118 steals.
And right field was
Right field was 1982.
Lonnie.
Lonnie Smith, yes. Lonnie Smith batted right-handed. Yeah, Terry
Who later
Pendleton.
played for the
Terry Pendleton at
was
third.
Yeah.
So he got all of them but one.
Yeah.
All of them.
And he
but
told you
right
something
field.
that you didn't know.
Told me somebody
7
that it
games.
was 7 games. So I didn't mean to be.
No. It's
But I knew what the result of this would be when I brought that
and
up.
their top pitcher
'Cause
that year was John Denny.
And when he gets into like the 60s,
And they had Joaquin Andujar as well.
Anybody remembers Joaquin?
Yeah, Joaquin.
Joaquin.
Andahar. You know what I
and
mean?
a heart. But
We let me tell you this, and y'all may want to go on from all of this, whatever you do. But we went to you're talking about. He saw all the major league stadiums in America and Canada, so he's been there and done that. Well, I got to go with him in 2000 to. We flew into Newark, rented a car,
Drove to Boston.
drove to Boston on that Thursday, and then drove back down to New York City on Friday.
Went to
And
Yankee
on that
Stadium.
Thursday, we saw Boston play Cleveland, I believe.
Cleveland, yeah.
And so we go in the stadium, and the usher gentleman, we had tickets way out there.
Right
in
field.
Right field. and so this gentleman standing there, you know, I said, sir, is there any way? I said, man, I'm up here from Mississippi. He's from Texas. And is there any way we could get better seats than this? I handed him the ticket. He said, just wait a minute. Wait a minute. I said, just wait a minute. He goes down here, right behind the
First base dugout.
the first base dugout, the Red Sox dugout. And he's standing down there, and we're standing up, and he motions for us. Come on. So he puts us in box seats right there. So we're there. Well, this is people sit in these seats.
Third row.
Buy these box seats, like pass them on to their children when they died.
Yeah.
So we're sitting there. I mean, we ain't been there 5 minutes, and this woman says to us, "What are y'all doing here?" And we turned around. She said, "Who are you? It's not your seats." Yeah. Well, yes, ma'am. We're here. You know, we're just here to see the game. And the usher found us these seats, and so, well, what are you doing here? Where are you from? I said, well, I'm from Mississippi. Mark said, well, I'm from Houston, Texas. She said, Houston, Texas? She said, I used to live in Houston. It stinks down there. I'm playing, old lady, please.
Yeah, you just don't
Lady,
know.
if he, please, Mark, I'm praying Mark just settled. So Mark handled himself real good. She said, what are y'all doing up here? He said, look, we're baseball fans. He said, I'm traveling to see every stadium in America. And he said, Ronnie's with me here. Anyway. And she said, what do you know about Boston or the Red Sox? And he said, well. And he starts telling her the lineup, I believe, is when the Red Sox played the Cardinals.
1967.
Now, tell her what you told her.
Pick up, because this
Well,
gets
what
good.
she said was when I told her that we were baseball fans, she said, well, I'm a baseball fan, but I wouldn't do that. I said, well, you're not a baseball fan. And she'd already peeved me a little bit by the remarks she made about Houston. I remember Ronnie told me later, he said, what you should have told her is that, well, now that you're gone, it smells a whole lot better. I wish I could have thought that quickly. I would have said that. But anyway, nonetheless, I was trying to be as civil as I could be. But at one point, the gloves all came off, and I thought, lady, I'm gonna put you in your place, and you're gonna deserve this for how you're acting.
This is coming from the 12-year-old who threw at the umpire.
Yeah.
Talking to a woman with $100,000 box a year.
Yeah.
So what I told her, she said, well, I'm a baseball fan. And I said, well, you're not the baseball fan I am. And she said, well, my grandpa had these seats, and my daddy had these seats, and I've been coming my whole life and watching the Red Sox. I said, well, I'll tell you what, ma'am. I said, you not only are not the baseball fan that I am, you don't even know what the Red Sox, what I know. I know more about the Red Sox than you do. At that point, I was just ready to attack her, and I didn't care. So I thought you're gonna get what's coming to you. And so I asked her some simple questions. I said, who did y'all play in the '67 World Series? They beat y'all in 7 games. She didn't know. I said it was the St. Louis Cardinals. I said Bob Gibson pitched. He had a 1.16 ERA that year for the St. Louis Cardinals. I said he won 3 games, and the Cardinals won the World Series in 7 games. And I said, now, let's go on to the Red Sox. I said, y'all had a MVP that year who was recently in 2013, Miguel Cabrera won a Triple Crown.
Right.
But up until then, this player was the last player to win the Triple Crown. He batted .347. He drove in 147 runs, and he had 38 home runs. I said, who am I talking about? She had a real puzzled look on her. I said, let me help you out a little bit. I said, his number was 8. I thought everybody in Boston knew who I was talking about, but evidently she didn't. I said, his name was Carl Yastrzemski. I said, you mean to tell me that you're a Red Sox fan and you don't know who Carl Yastrzemski is? I said, y'all had a pitcher that year that won the Cy Young Award. He won 27 games. He lost 3 games. He had a 1.68 ERA. The only one who had a better ERA than him was Bob Gibson, who had a 1.16. And I said, he won the Cy Young Award that year in the American League. I said, he was number 27. What was his name? She said, I don't know. I said, his name was Jim Lonborg. I said, he won I said he didn't win a game in the World Series that year because every time he pitched against Bob Gibson. And Bob Gibson won 3 games in that World Series. Nelson Briles won 1 game in that World Series, and Steve Carlton won 1 game in that World Series. So I said,
You went through a lineup with her too, didn't you?
I went through the start lineup of the '67 Rico Petrocelli, Carl Yastrzemski, Tony Conigliaro. You had George Scott. You had Jim Lonborg. You had Louis Tiant also pitched for the Red Sox that year, and I gave her a few of the names of the starting lineup of the Red Sox. And so when it was all over and said and done, I told her, I said, well, it's evident that I know more about baseball than you do, and I know more about the Red Sox than you do, and if anybody deserves to be sitting in these seats tonight, he and I do. I said, now, I would appreciate it if you let us watch this game. I didn't come here to talk to you. I came here to watch baseball.
She did finally admit, you know more about the Red Sox than I do.
You think, huh?
And he and I were the last 2 people out of the stadium that night.
You know, the last two. What we did is Ted Williams' last home run. The last home run that Ted Williams hit, he hit at Fenway Park at the end of his career. It was also the longest home run he ever hit at Fenway Park. It was halfway up the right field stands, and when you're sitting in Fenway Park, the stands are not double deck; they're single deck, and they go way back to the back wall. Well, he hit it 3/4 the way up. Massive shot. Probably if it would have not hit the stands, it would have gone 470 feet. And I wanted to see that because in Fenway Park, all the seats are crimson red. But that seat is fire engine red.
Okay.
And so when everybody left, Ronnie and I moved over to the third base side, and I said, there it is right there. There's the seat. I said, can you imagine a man hitting a ball at 41 years old that went that far? And we were the only people in the park, and about that time the usher come up and said, y'all got to leave.
And about that time, lights started going out.
Lights started going out. And we walked out of Fenway Park. We parked right behind the Green Monster in a little old parking garage. When we got out and walked in, we had to step over drunks that were lying up against the back of that fence, the Green Monster.
Wow.
And walked around to the first base side of the will call window, got our tickets. We didn't have cell phones back then and apps. I had to call and order tickets off will call, and then we had to walk around, find will call, and go in. Cleveland Indians won that game that night. They won it 10-1, and I'll never forget the fervor of the Red Sox fans. Probably some of the most fervent fans as far as their outward demonstration. They're in the bottom of the ninth inning. They're behind 10-1, and they're leaning over the sideboards, beating on them, trying to rally their team. And I thought, man, I wish we did that in Houston.
Atmosphere.
The atmosphere.
Yeah.
There was as much baseball atmosphere outside of Fenway as was inside Fenway.
Wow.
I've been to Wrigley. Wrigley's a great park, but you don't have the baseball atmosphere outside the park that you do inside the park as you have at Fenway. Fenway's just, if you're a baseball fan, you'll think you died and gone to baseball heaven when you walk in Fenway Park. I never will forget when he and I walked in and the lights splashed off that Green Monster. You got to remember, I've been watching it since 1964. I'd seen scores of baseball games on TV of the Green Monster. Yeah. And it was just a dream come true for me to walk
Sure
in
it
the
was.
park.
Wow. Y'all had some excitement in Houston here last several years, too.
Yeah, I wish we'd had a little more. But, yeah, now they're saying we cheated. I don't know
what is
about
it
all
all
that. Well, they said there was a camera in center field, but the interesting thing about that is this: whether there was or not, I don't know. Whether they cheated or not, I don't know. I do know there was not a camera in center field in Dodger Stadium when they won those two games.
That's right.
So give them some credit.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
whether they cheated or not. There was no camera in center field in Dodger Stadium when George Springer teed off on Yu Darvish in Game 7 and put them up 5-0. There was no camera in center field when Marvin Gonzalez hit a tie-breaking home run in the 8th inning, Game 2.
Yeah.
No.
Well, and even at that, you won no home games.
That was
right.
this year. That year
Yeah,
we beat the
yeah.
Dodgers, we won 2 home games.
I'm talking about this year, though, when they're saying
Yeah,
you
we won
cheated.
no home games. Exactly.
no
When they're
home
saying we
games.
cheated, we won no home games, but we
You're going to
won
have to learn to
3
cheat
in Washington.
better.
Y'all had somebody from Ole Miss leading that
Ole Miss.
camera
Somebody
thing.
from Ole Miss is involved.
We can't cheat. We can't cheat good either, bro.
Yeah, we're not. We need to go to cheat school.
Yeah, I do know when you did win it a few years ago. Me and you was texting, and you was in Mexico,
I was in Mexico.
and I was right here in my living room.
Yes, I was in Mexico.
And I could really care less if Houston ever wins it. You make me want Houston to win. I don't like the
Yeah, me
Astros.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the ugliest uniform in the 70s that's ever been produced.
Yeah, the rainbow uniform.
Yeah.
Rainbow.
But Nolan Ryan could throw it, and as a kid, we all wanted to be Nolan Ryan.
You got that right.
Let me tell you.
But he makes me want Houston to win.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
bad. Ain't it?
Oh, yeah.
His passion for Houston.
One night I went to watch Nolan pitch in 1988. It was 1988. It's toward the end of his career in Houston. And I bought a ticket right behind home plate, front row, right behind the umpire. And I watched him pitch 9 innings. He struck out 16 Cincinnati Reds, gave up 1 hit, which other than the 7 no-hitters, he did accomplish. He threw 14 one-hitters in his career. That's 14 more times he came that close. And the hit was a flare single to right center field in the 7th inning.
Wow.
And I saw Alan Ashby, the catcher, take his mitt off numerous times and rub his hand on his leg because Nolan was busting him up.
guarantee you.
He was coming in at about 102, 103. His curveball was coming in at 98, and it was dropping 3 feet from belt high to below the knees. Unhittable. And every time he pitched, all you heard was he would grunt real loud. Every pitch. He got such push off with his back foot, and the top of his body was so low to the ground, his hand was scraping the mound as it came over, and his knee had dirt on it from digging into the dirt with his leg. Wow. I never saw power like
You don't
that.
see that much anymore at all. Especially going 9 innings.
That was the big red machine.
Yeah.
I do appreciate the little plug-in you gave a while ago on. You pulled out Wrigley Field
Yeah.
and basically said they were not baseball fans. Thank you.
Well, I could care
Billy
less if the Cubs ever
Sampson
win
would-
another game.
He would.
He would
appreciate
concur with that. He would love that if he were
Billy
here.
would.
Billy's a White Sox fan.
He's a what? And he's a Cub hater,
Yeah.
just like I am.
Just like the
so
Cardinal fans.
Any
are.
chance you get to trash the Cubs,
Well, let me just put a plug in for the Cardinal fans. I went after of course, I went to the old Busch Stadium. I went to the new Busch Stadium. In the new Busch Stadium, every once in a while on these trips, I'd see the Astros play. And that night, the Astros were playing the Cardinals. Jeff Kent was playing second base for the Astros. He went back on a flare to right center field. He caught the ball going out, banged his head on the turf, and knocked him out. And the Cardinal fans stood and gave him a standing ovation. Never seen that anywhere else. Never seen that anywhere else. They stood and gave him a standing ovation when they carried him off the field. Class fans in St. Louis. Can't say that for Chicago.
Sounds like Atlanta Braves. fans.
anyone could say that if they watched the Pujols series.
Yeah.
I mean,
He couldn't even bat.
What kind of guy could get up every single at bat of a 3-game series and get a standing ovation?
Yeah. And then
That left.
And then he got one when he hit a home run to beat him.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. He did. Well, like I said, we could go for hours. We need to do this again. We got to get you back, Brother Mark, and tell some more baseball stories. He actually got to go hunting today.
Yeah.
So we'll kind of shift gears into hunting. He didn't get to no luck this afternoon, though, huh?
We definitely were hunting.
We were hunting.
We didn't do any shooting or killing. We were full-fledged hunters. We did find some nabs about 4:15.
Yeah.
Where were y'all hunting today?
We went to the big 8-foot stand.
Ingemar.
Got in the office chairs, kicked back, got in there by 2:00. We was gonna wait them out. I do think that I saw 2 buzzards when we got out.
Yeah, we did. Saw 2 buzzards.
They were up in a tree. Other than that,
That's aggravating too, ain't it?
well, you got 1,000 yards of food plot, literally
Green, tall.
up and everything. There's something up
Green
with
tall.
that. I think that the deer at Ingemar are full-fledged Democrats.
Probably
They don't do nothing right.
During the day, they don't do nothing. Just be
No,
out
they out
roaming
there
at
right
night.
now.
At
They're
night.
out there right
Yeah.
now.
Roaming around at night.
Yeah. We was finna impeach a few of them if they come out.
Yeah, we were. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would have been an impeachable offense for them to step out.
But I will say this: I haven't said this, Brother Mark, but Brother Mark got about 5 hours of kickback, get your mind off everything.
Oh yeah.
That's why By His Grace Outdoors has done this for years.
Yeah.
Just sitting there talking really about nothing major.
Yeah.
Just being out there in the woods. Just
stress.
Yeah.
went to the grill over at the Thaxton
I
store.
saw a picture. You
Yeah.
sent me a picture. Where we got? Is that
Yeah,
Thaxton?
we was at Thaxton. Took him
Okay.
to the country store my aunt and uncle
Okay.
owned when I was a kid. Grew up in that store. Got a sandwich. Just sometimes you need those days where you just go and
Absolutely.
Brother Ronnie got to go. Eli took
Yeah.
him. They seen 4 deer. Of course, Mr. Shooter Eli, he's all about firing the gun. He couldn't even get Brother Ronnie talked into it. So, but
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
Huh?
I couldn't believe it.
Well,
There's trophy hunter.
well, it was right at dark. I mean, it was. It
well,
was
he
getting
started
close.
the season off pretty hard. I mean, it's going to be hard to top what he started
Yeah.
the season off with.
Yeah.
We got to get to that.
Yeah.
We might as well hit it now. So we're in Kentucky. In fact, the last podcast was in Kentucky.
The night before this.
Was it the night before?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it was the night before. So Kerry and I had actually come up a day before Daddy was coming up.
Yeah, y'all left Wednesday night. Got there Thursday, hunted.
We did the podcast Thursday night. So
and I didn't
He
get
was on
there.
his way.
So Daddy drives all night.
I did my
He
class,
He left
yeah.
about 9 o'clock,
Yeah,
probably, because I remember when you called me.
yeah.
He drives all the way for about 6.5 hour drive. Probably
got there at 3 a.m.
Got there at 3 o'clock.
Tough.
Crawls into bed. We decided.
By the way, I slept in the recliner and the floor so he could have a bed, right?
You
I
did.
just want that
Yeah.
out.
You made that sacrifice.
Yes,
Took
you
one
did.
for the team.
Thank you, brother.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Crawls in the bed. We had already decided we were going to hunt, go in for a late morning hunt because he's going to be there getting in late. And two,
Full moon.
it was like a spotlight in the sky.
And we
about-
set the day before and saw nothing. Remember?
Nothing.
Same spot we was going to take him.
The exact same spot. I hunted there. We
And
saw
ground
not
blind.
a
That
thing.
ground blind.
And we decided to move it, which was a good move. We relocated it
Perfect.
because
that was all on you. I want to thank you for that.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I can see back when y'all did that earlier, you had the crops still in the field.
Yeah,
so there was going
you
to be
couldn't
no
see
visibility. So since then, the crops have been cut, the corn have been cut. So we moved it, and we get out and leave about what, maybe
10,
9.
10,
It's
15.
about 10 o'clock.
About
About
10 o'clock.
10:30 is when I ordered that fish plate.
Right. We stopped at that little old store on the way.
Walked in. He wanted a biscuit. First of all, we had done 8 breakfasts. That's the true story. Remember, we ate
Yeah.
toast and all that. at
Yeah,
the-
but
at
I'm
the-
not on meat.
Right, I agree. And he's like, hey, we get outside. He's like, hey, you think we can stop and get a biscuit? And I said, well, yeah, there's a store. And I remember a store on the way, so I pulled in.
Yeah.
Well, Brother Cody called and said, no, I ain't the one. And did he know that for a fact? Man, we went on down the road. The little store we stopped at didn't even have a sign that it was a store, just a
Yeah.
building.
Yeah.
Walked in, and they had just took out fried fish, hush puppies, slaw.
Yeah.
And I was
10:30
like,
today.
For lunch.
Yeah, about
Yeah.
10.
Well,
About
they
10:30.
had sold all their breakfast, so they're
had one biscuit.
Had one biscuit and bacon, which is all I needed. I'm good.
Yeah.
I got the fish platter, boy. Fried fish. I smelt like
So we get
I
in the
had
truck
been swimming
and
in
we
some
eat
burnt
that.
oil.
We eat that on the way over there. You know,
How far a drive do you have?
About 20 minutes from here.
another 15 minutes, 20 minutes, I guess. So,
So we smell it, and anybody that went in there smelled like it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, this store is the size of a good sized bedroom.
I knew this wasn't going to be good
So,
for us. Anybody that was out wasn't going to be able to conceal their scent.
no.
Yeah. But
You needed
we
a
get-
blind deer that couldn't smell.
yeah,
We get there.
Oh gosh.
We park, pull the Polaris out, and Kerry and Daddy get all their stuff loaded up. Me and Cody are going to go hunt the bottom. So we kind of was a little bit indecisive about what we were going to do. Then after they were going to go, so we get in the vehicle, get our stuff, and we're pulling out. They drove to their stand or the little blind that they're hunting in. We go out, Cody and I, we're going to go down the road because we're wanting to see if we could get in on our property to another area. And so we drove it was like a mile and a half. We went down there, we turned around because we knew we couldn't get in. We're going to have to cross over another landowner. And we turned around and we're driving back by the drive that we pulled in. So it's about a 2-mile total drive, and my phone rings. And it's Daddy. And I look at Bo Cody. I said, he's forgot something, and he's hollering, wanting us to bring something down there to him. And I answered the phone. He said, "Did you hear that shot?" That's all he said. "You hear that shot?" I said, "Hear a shot? No, we're in the
I
vehicle."
thought
We
y'all was
just-
going down in that valley down through there hunting, is what I thought.
Yeah, he thought we were. And, I mean, this couldn't have been 15 minutes.
Oh, no. No.
That was at 11.
Maybe not 10. You know,
Maybe 11:15, 11:16 when I called you.
I'll let y'all tell it from there.
Well, we first of all, we went in early because we was going to have to drive through the cornfield to get to the blind. All right, so you want to go ahead and kill all that noise and that scent and all that. So we drive the pliers, get out of the blind, or get out of the pliers, put everything in the blind. I parked the pliers just right over the little ridge. Yeah, I can see the roof of it from the blind just because there's no other place to park it. Get back in. I get a text message from a lady who had came to youth camp, was asking about a song that was sung at youth camp. So I'm telling him, I said, yeah, because he knows the lady. I said, the lady texted me, her daughter got saved at youth camp. So we're talking. And he's like, hey, I better load my gun.
Well,
we just sit down.
We was talking about a while ago too. You got to tell this. Whatever we did, you don't do. You know, none of the outdoor channel program
Don't show.
will say, now do this, do. We did exact opposite. I mean, he parked the Ranger. We
Well, they
got
never
stuff.
say get a fish plate.
Yeah, never. And then that was at 11 o'clock.
Fish plate.
That's at 11 o'clock, so we're going to stay there all day. So he's brought enough food, I have too, and we have filled that ground blind up. We got a little smorgasbord over there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's food
Buffet.
stack, little buffet of food and all that. So I get in there and sit down, you know, and he's going to close the, you know, the blind and all that, and he's getting in there, and that's when he sits down, and he's answering this lady about this song.
And he got my cameras on.
And no, he don't even have his camera. Well, I'm not even loaded. And I'm sitting there thinking, I said, I better load my gun. And you think by hearing this now, Brother Barefield's never hunted before, but I have. But I was just caught up, I guess, being in Kentucky or whatever, and being with him. He don't even have a gun. He's going to film me. And so I'm loading. He's
And
over
we
there.
just sit down.
I mean,
It's not like we've been
this is
there.
11 o'clock.
Smelling like fish camp.
This is 11 a.m. I got bacon breath, and he's got a whole body odor of fish and hush puppy. So he sits down there, and he says, let me answer. I got to answer this. And I said, well, I better load my gun. So I'm loading. While I'm loading, I just have got it loaded. Out of the corner of my eye, I seen movement. And I got some little briar thicket in front of me, and then the cornfield. And I saw some horns move out there in that cornfield. And I told him, I said, Kerry, I see a deer. It's got horns. He said, what? He went, oh, okay. And then what?
Well, we'd sit there all day, right? The day before.
The day before.
So I don't even turn to get my camera. I think he's seeing
You're
stuff.
thinking the opportunity is going to be late
I'm
that evening.
Late that
still
afternoon.
out of breath from unloading the Ranger and walking back.
Right.
I ain't even got my breath yet.
Yeah.
So I lean back. I grab one of the cameras. I ain't even got my blind camera cut on that would catch him, film him shooting. I ain't even thought about getting none of that out yet. I reached back and so thankful that I went ahead and cut it on and got it up because I can't see nothing what he's seeing through that thicket.
No.
And he said, "There's a doe in front. There's a doe in front." And that's the first thing I saw on my camera. You'll see it on the film when it comes out. The doe come. I still ain't seen no buck. And then about that time, boom,
Comes.
there he is. And from the time when I saw it, you'll hear on the film like, "Get him, brother! Get him! Get him! Get him!" Well, now he can't see for the brush,
Yeah.
and it just so happened that dude walked perfectly in a spot
And
where he
stopped,
could
looked
see, and
you
I
could
could
see.
film.
I saw
And
it.
he has
Perfect.
hit that dude. It hit the
He
ground,
stopped and like
raised
posed.
up, and bounced off the ground. And we was both sitting there like, did this really just happen?
Yeah, his,
I mean,
his rear end fell first, and then he just laid down.
He just collapsed.
I'm honest when I say this. I ain't trying to be gross. I still got fish in my teeth. I ain't even had time to clean my teeth, man.
Yeah.
I got hush puppy in my beard.
I mean, we're in there by 11, and he's still texting. I'm loading. By 11:15, this deer is on the ground. And before 11:15, really, we say 15 minutes, but it's more like 10 by the time we.
He said, "You think it's going to get littler, the closer we get?"
Yeah, I thought.
I had seen
thought-
it in the camera. See,
Oh, well, you had told me. You said you have just killed a monster deer.
yeah, I mean it's a great deer. Ain't
And
nobody
is-
wouldn't have shot this deer. I mean it's a great deer.
Is he? I see. Was he that good? You think? Was he that? I mean, I was just in denial, man. I'm thinking. I mean, I knew he's a good deer, but I didn't know that he was going to be like that.
Well, anybody who's ever hunted can relate to what you're going through right now.
Yeah.
And the guys that are listening to this will know how many times you shoot a deer and you think, is he as good as I thought he was?
Yeah.
You know, that's the first thing that goes through your mind. Once you know he's down, that's the first thing that's going on in your mind. Did I shoot a good deer? Is he as good as what I thought he was?
Yeah.
When it's a quick deal.
Yeah,
especially-
Like what we were at.
especially when it's
He's walking across cornfield.
Yeah.
He's fixing to leave. He's not stopping. She's
Yeah.
leaving. He's right on. And when we got out of the blind, I get out of the blind. He's talking to you.
Yeah.
I get out of the blind. There's a 6 points done come out trailing where she's been running out there from the shot, going crazy out there. So there's no telling the deer there. All right. But for that big deer just to come broadsided out there and turn around, he literally turned around, looked at the blind, and was like,
Yeah.
You're going to
Yeah,
shoot
he
or
just
what?
stopped. I mean, we never grunted. We never. He just pulled.
Yeah.
He walked.
Stopped and looked right at
just, and I mean,
I
stopped.
wonder if maybe he got a whiff of the hush puppy in the
Maybe
fish.
he did.
And he
Maybe
was
he did.
like,
He's
I'm going to be
curious.
honest with you.
He's curious.
The rut ain't on yet. The rut ain't on. He's winding.
Yeah.
He's trying to find. And he's
Fish.
like, I'm going to be honest with you. Now, that's pretty good smell right
Yeah.
there.
Well,
That
yeah.
fried fish smelling good. I could have, we may get a spray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was sure covering a human scent.
Yeah,
He wasn't
crappie.
getting no human scent.
You get a crappie if you're in North Mississippi. Get catfish if you're in Kentucky.
Either that or it's the Barefield mystique. He
And
can
so-
fall in the mud and come out
So
clean.
he,
Oh, I know.
and that's when I thought Kevin and him had walked down in that other holler. And so while Kerry is saying, okay, let's he's trying to get outside, so I just get my phone. I call Kevin, and that's when I said, "You hear that shot?" No, what shot? I didn't know y'all was on the highway on the road up there.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot to add that. We did try to go walk, but we probably only walked in
Y'all
there.
walked off before we left.
Well,
Yeah.
Because I
that's
filmed
what
you.
happened.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
bad. I
So-
forgot to add that detail. We walked about.
We thought you didn't have no service
we
down
thought
in that hole.
we thought we could get there by walking, and we walked
But-
in there about 100 yards, turn around, and come back out because we couldn't get there.
Anyway, man, so I said, well, I've got one down. I said, he's a pretty good deer. I think he's a good deer. I said, Kerry said he's a monster. I said, he's a good deer. Kerry said, okay. And so Kerry's going to film. He's filming the whole thing. He's going to film me getting out like I do on TV, man. I've never done this before.
Yeah.
So he's going to film me getting out of the blind,
Walking out.
And I mean, I'm probably, when the film comes out, my favorite probably one TV show of all time is Andy Griffith's show.
Oh, yeah.
And there's one of those where Barney gets pulled into by these crooks, and he thinks they're going to make a movie with him in it.
Oh, yeah.
And he's walking across, and he's looking like he's,
Across the bank.
And I'm thinking that's probably the way I look. Like I'm cutting an eye at Kerry once in a while, make sure. Anyway, he said, "Go on." He said, "I'm gonna film you go into the deer." And so, I know you go down there and poke the deer and all that, but I'm just thinking this guy. So we did. We walked down there, and then we look up. We see Kevin and Cody coming.
Yeah.
And we start waving at them. Stop.
Yeah, we were just driving out there in the truck.
They were gonna drive across the corner.
We went out there to see if he's dead, and where he fell, we couldn't see him from where
Yeah.
we were sitting
Right.
because he had failed down in those stalks.
Yeah, we could see him.
Yeah.
Y'all were still walking to him
Yeah,
when we
over that
actually
little
pulled
draw
up.
there.
So
We
that's
couldn't
why
see
we saw him. He's like, man, that deer ain't going nowhere. He's dead.
Oh, me. And we get out there to him, and sure enough, I punch him with my gun barrel, and he don't move, man. He's dead. He's dead. And I'm overwhelmed. I'm thinking, he was a good deer. A very good deer. And so Brother Kerry, he's filming all this. And then finally, Kevin and him get down there. So I've just laid my gun down. I've kind of laid back on the deer. I'm just, man, exhausted with emotion.
You getting all this?
Oh, yeah.
He's got all of it.
No.
So
It's an
Kevin,
hour's worth.
December's podcast. Please subscribe. We're broke. Amen.
and Kevin them get out and come down there, and Kevin's standing there looking at him, and then Kevin just jumps on me.
Yeah.
And we roll over.
rolling
man.
on the
we
deer.
just roll over. I mean, it was something around there, and so
That's when y'all FaceTimed me.
Be some Titanic
Yeah.
love music
Yeah.
right there. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
some simple.
Yeah.
You get your
And
deer.
so
done.
Now let's take this
that
back
was
a few hours earlier. you and I are already up there. And this guy's doing everything he can to get out of making this drive
The day before.
the day before.
Yeah.
He
done
does
caught-
have a negative attitude.
He's got a bad attitude.
He trying to talk himself out of it.
Yeah,
trying to
because-
make y'all
Because
just
if we
stay
didn't
at
see
home.
no deer, see?
First of all,
Okay.
he's supposed to leave and go up with us when we left, but he was too
Right.
tired from our Bible conference, and I got it. And I just knew, and he was this kind of bad attitude, just grumpy old man about it. You know, getting that way a little bit in his old age, and so he's.
I think it's
he's
testosterone or metabolism. It's some medical term.
He's being negative about it, and he
There.
calls me, and Kerry, you may have to help me remember all that was said, but I remember him calling me and being like, "Well, you know, everything's. Well, what are y'all doing?"
Yeah, like we had done
well,
something
wait a minute,
wrong.
I'm in this
and
group.
He
Y'all
said,
been-
well, I gotta go preach Bible Institute tonight, and then it's probably gonna be 9 o'clock before I leave. I don't know.
Now wait a minute, he
and
couldn't
then
find the
license.
shells.
And
the key.
Oh,
The key.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been on it all day,
Oh,
bro.
yeah, he called about
Because
that.
you moved the key at your house.
I moved the key. He said, I can't get in the shop.
Where's
Where's the key?
again? I still can't get in there.
Well, the
Believe it
reason I
again.
did it, I went to make him a copy,
Yeah.
so we'd have a copy.
Oh.
He's
But
got a
what?
copy.
But I was in this group text y'all had.
Yeah.
You and Brother Brian,
The day
Cody,
before.
him. Yeah. And I'm in the group text, but I'm in Mississippi. And they're telling, we didn't say nothing all day. We've been in here all day. Well, by that afternoon, I'm getting less and less interested.
Yeah.
And so I got to go
You
preach the
tired
Bible
to start
Institute.
with, yeah.
And then I'm going to leave after the Bible Institute.
By
drive
yourself.
all night by myself. So I'm thinking, listen, is there any need me to come? Well, I've got to get my gun sighted in. I've got to get my gun. So I go over to the place where we sight the gun in, and I can't get in the room because he's moved the key. So I did. I probably said, "Where's the key?" You know, something like that. Well, Daddy, it's over. And I said, "Well, I'm trying to get my gun set." And you know, I mean, it was just, it's just negative.
Now,
so
let me back up.
I had an attitude. I know I did.
Yeah, let me back up, though.
I was that far from backing out.
All right, let me back up to September. We all picking our spots up there. I'm representing y'all because y'all are not there. Brother Ronnie donated a 360 blind to buy his Grace Outdoors for me to hunt turkey here with my handicap.
Mm-hmm.
I took that blind to Kentucky so me and him could sit in it to hunt deer, and I let everybody pick their spots. And the last spot was on the back corner of the property by this cornfield. And I told him, I'll set this thing up. I sent pictures to y'all after I set it up. And when we come up here, we'll hunt in this. Well, Brother Brian Bridges and Eli go up there early. Brother Brian kills a doe out of his blind Monday morning, FaceTimes me Monday evening. Guess where I'm at? I don't know where. He's in our blind. So Monday he hunted in the blind. So then Tuesday there's a big snow. They don't go into about mid-morning because of big snow. He kills a big 7-point out of the blind. Tuesday.
Kevin?
No, Brian
no,
Bridges.
Brian Bridges.
Then Wednesday, guess who's sitting in the blind all day? Eli.
So you thought
They go to our spot.
wasn't
So by
fresh.
Thursday, me and Kevin sit there, see nothing. I'm thinking, I done said to Kevin, I said, they've done come in here, out of here, come in here, out of here. You know, all this going on, this noise, they're driving deer, they're dragging deer out, they're taking pictures or video and all this. All they had to do is leave our spot alone. He's getting all this too. He don't want to come, but he knows one thing. His 2 favorite sons are in Kentucky.
Yeah.
He wants to spend time with his children. He comes, crawls up into bed at 3 o'clock, gets up, gets a little toast, then gets a bacon biscuit, watches his dearest young preacher friend eat a fish plate, and the hunt is on.
There you go, buddy. And
15 minutes, it's over. After we get the video, we load the deer up, take it back up there to the top, and I'm thinking, okay, well, I guess we're fixing to go. And you look at him and say, well, you want to go home? And I'm sitting there thinking, hey, I thought we were going like just y'all hang out. And they were like, no, Daddy said, well, I'm done. I've killed a deer. And Kerry said, well, I got something going tomorrow. I'd really like to get on back if it's all the same to you. They get in the truck, take the deer up to the processor, and drive
We
back to
gone.
By
Mississippi.
9 o'clock, I'm at the house.
You
man.
still there?
Yeah.
Yeah, he hadn't killed nothing yet.
Who's there with you?
Eli?
And Cody Tucker.
No,
No, Eli done left
No,
that
Eli
morning.
left that morning. Cody Tucker, me and Cody.
And what was funny was Eli had hunted and only seen does, and he finally shot one. He's driving home Friday morning. Me and Brother Ronnie FaceTime him. He's driving. What's up? I said, oh, not much. And I turned around there, laid that deer. He couldn't believe it. He ain't seen a buck since he'd been up there. And then he hadn't killed anything, and Cody hadn't killed anything, so they stayed. Cody killed on Friday evening
Yeah.
Yeah, or Saturday.
or Saturday,
Yeah.
Saturday.
and then
And
finally
I killed mine the last morning.
Monday morning.
I only had a half a morning hunt and got in there. It was sleeting. And I got up in the stand. I'm not going to go through all my deal, but I couldn't hardly get in there because of the sleet and the running to some road construction. Getting in there that morning, they were getting some stuff set up for road construction. I'm thinking, why am I getting held up at 5 o'clock in the morning and it's sleeting? And I get in there and I bump a deer going in, climb up in the stand, and here comes a buck. I hadn't been in the stand 15 minutes. Just got my gun ready to go, and sitting there in sleep, he walked straight up. I shot him about 180 yards, almost straight on. I never got a broadside shot. I shot him quartered, kind of away from me. Went in his front shoulder,
Wow.
come out his back leg. So
What a time.
it was a great hunt, man.
Yeah, it was
everyone
great.
killed a deer, and 5 out of 6 of us that hunted killed buck deer.
Now this video will be on By His Grace Outdoors.
Podbean, download the Podbean app. By His Grace Outdoors December hunt. We just put our November hunt, which was
Yeah.
our handicap hunt.
Right.
By His Grace December hunt will be the Kentucky. It's going to be the
Yeah.
all of
It's funny.
the weekend.
Yeah, it'll be good.
And Brother
You'll
Ronnie's
love
hunt is going to conclude it with a drum roll and exciting drama music as that deer comes out. We may make that deer come out 6 times before we finish.
It'll be good.
I can't wait to see it, man. That was just awesome. We did everything right backwards, and it just goes to show that's deer hunting, man.
Oh, yeah.
You can do like we did today. You can go sit for hours, maybe not see nothing, do everything right.
Mm-hmm.
And then you do everything wrong, and then
Well, yeah.
I just that week we had such a great Bible conference that week, our annual conference. We got people come in from 15, 16, 7 different states. We had a great conference, great meeting. I was so excited and thrilled about that. Then I killed that deer on Friday, and I think that Saturday is when Ole Miss played LSU. I said, if Ole Miss beats LSU, I mean, we didn't have this great conference. God give me that deer. I said, if Ole Miss beats LSU, I'm going to say, Lord, just take me home. I'm ready to go. But
Well, I'm glad
that
we
didn't
lost.
happen.
Yeah, I'm glad we
You don't have
lost.
to worry about that.
Yeah.
So anyway, wow.
28-0 kind of knocked that out of the
Yeah,
water.
that
Start.
hurt us
Yeah.
a little. That
Yeah.
hurt us a little.
But that second half now, we came back after them, boy. So whatever.
Well, it was a fun hunt and a great time.
Yeah.
Just a couple of things. We've got our podcast next week. Hopefully, I think we've got things lined up. We will be at the shop of Mr. Richie Crew.
Thursday.
We are working out some details on that, but
Already talked to
we've
him.
got that lined
Everything's
up,
good.
and so we're excited. Talked to Richie a couple of weeks ago, and Kerry's actually doing some video of him as well. That's going to be on his video cast. But we wanted to get him. Richie's got a great story. He was recently featured on the History Channel on that show Forged by Fire. Yeah, and so he's just a great man. And
Battling colon cancer.
he's battling cancer right now, but he's doing well. He's
So I think they got it all.
yeah.
Amen.
And he's just don't know anybody in the world that knows Richie Crew that doesn't love Richie Crew.
Sure.
He's just a great man, and So we're excited to have him on. Hopefully that'll all work out. That'll be next week's podcast. And then we've got some other things that are in the burner, some things we hope we're going to be able to announce coming real soon that hopefully our listeners will be excited to hear. Not quite ready yet, but hopefully we'll have some news on that in the upcoming weeks. But guys, thank you for coming out tonight. Really enjoyed. And Kerry, thanks for the meal. We ate pizza tonight.
Yeah, we had to order.
And chicken, but we had to kind of rush this up. So, thank you for hosting us again.
Always.
So look forward to next week. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Heroes get remembered, but legends never die. It's your time now. Be a legend.